Coming up today on Zestology, is happiness location dependent? Talking about relocating to different countries, I know lots of people who've moved to different countries, but I don't know many people who've done it with kids in tow. But Alex Higham is one of them. Alex is the brains and the founder of Exhale Coffee, so he knows all about organic and healthy coffee that helps you feel good. And we talk about coffee in this podcast, but we also talk about his experience of moving to Portugal with his family and how that compares to my experience of moving to Thailand with my family. And as you can tell, here I am in Thailand right now. Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an author, presenter at Sky Sports, and years ago I went to the jungle and got ill. Very ill. So this is my podcast adventure to find more energy. It's packed with biohacking, science, health tech, supplements, and some of the most well-known experts on the planet.
This is something I spent 4 months of my life doing with electrodes glued to my head so that you can do a lifetime worth of meditation.
Decide what you don't give a fuck about, which is something you don't care about.
Some of it gets quite out there.
I had some stem cells sent up to my house that I had stored, and then I injected myself with mannitol.
And we even hack hangovers.
Alcohol is poisonous. So is water and oxygen in the wrong dosage.
So that's my podcast, Zestology. Live life with energy, vitality, and motivation. Welcome back to Zestology, and do you know what? I'm in this area just outside Lamai in the hills in Koh Samui in Thailand, and the sound of the crickets, it's actually the middle of the day, the sound of the crickets around here and the wildlife is so strong that I thought I'm going to record a podcast intro here right now so you can hear it. We've been sitting in a little restaurant here. I'm here with my family and a friend called Mark, and it is insane, the sound here. It's incredibly enlivening to be around this sound. I don't know why I love the sounds of the forest and the jungle out here so much, but I do. So, is happiness and energy and vitality, is it location dependent? Do we have to move away? Do we have to sort of, or is it going to make you happier if you move from cloudy Grimsby to sunny Thailand? I'd like to think not. And that is one of the things that we explore in this podcast. You know, constantly chasing happiness is not really a recipe for success. If you have to change your location to change how you feel inside, that's probably not a good thing. And yet, it sort of helps being in this 30-degree heat. So we explore all of these topics and moving to different countries and how the experience has been for both Alex running his coffee business from Portugal, which, by the way, his coffee business, Exhale Coffee, is going extremely well, and they are now crowdfunding as well. We explore that in this podcast. So I've just stepped away from my meal to record this podcast intro, and I'm now walking up a very steep hill back to the restaurant. So I'm going to hand you over to Alex Higham on Zestology. Okay, Alex, we're on. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good. So good to catch up. We've had to cancel twice. It's been my fault both times, so I'm so sorry about that. But where are you right now, and how is life?
I am in Portugal at the minute. So we moved out here in September to run the business from here until we had a 10-month contract on a house here. So the plan was to then go back to England in the summer and kind of reassess, potentially go somewhere else. But I think we're loving it so much here that we're going to spend 2 months. Well, we're going to spend a month in England and then a month in Sri Lanka and then come back out to Portugal again is the plan. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh my goodness. And obviously, just to explain to the listeners, I probably will go into this in the intro, but I was so looking forward to catching up with you because I am obviously in Thailand at the moment, and we've just loved this experience of coming here. And you're the only other person I know who's basically ever done it with a family. Because I must admit, when we left on Christmas Day, and when we were packing up the house, I sort of was thinking, what have I done? Did you feel like that as well?
Totally. And we had a 5-bedroom house in London that we're renting out to 5 different people. And And like the last few days was just a crazy dash of like literally like packing up the final bits and hiding things in plant pots and just stuffing things behind the sofa and go, where do we put this? I don't know, just stick it anywhere. So yeah, it's always a crazy rush at the end.
I know, yeah. And then I also sort of thought, well, is it the right thing for my son, who was 3 at the time, he's now 4, to move him away from his friends and his family and take him away? It just felt like, I mean, obviously 2 days later I was in Thailand and I was fine, but there was that moment of doubt. So tell me about the experience then. I mean, obviously it's been amazing because you're going to go back there, but how's it been? Has it been for the kids and for you, and what do you love about it?
So we have we've got 2 kids, first of all. We've got a 5-year-old and now 8-year-old, and we've checked them both into Portuguese schools. The 5-year-old's in a Portuguese school and the 8-year-old's in an international school, which is potentially going to be some weird experiment. But we'll see. We figured that the 8-year-old's really studious, so like putting her into a school where she didn't speak the language at all was a bit of a concern for us because she loves studying. So we were like, okay, we don't want to hold her back. And apparently the international school was meant to be 40% in Portuguese. So we put her in the international school. It turns out the international school, there's very little Portuguese taught there, and she's learned next to nothing. So she's actually having a trial day tomorrow at the Portuguese school to move there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so many other families that we know who've moved over are moving their kids to the Portuguese schools, which is cool. But yeah, in general, like we're loving it. Like it's so different because England's, for 6 months of the year or longer, we wouldn't even step foot in our back garden. We spend such a long time like making our garden lovely in London, and for 6 or 7 months of the year we never go in it. And it's just, whereas here it's sunny. You get 300 sunshine days a year in the Algarve, apparently. So it's sunny like most days. It's really an exception not to be sunny.
So yeah, so it's weather. That's number one, and obviously, so you're in the Algarve. That's the south of Portugal, yeah.
Yeah, I guess one of the big reasons for moving over was the whole business. Exhale is all about advocating this outdoors active life where you can do anything you want. You can kind of go after your dreams, and if you fuel it with a healthy coffee, then it's even better. But it's like the brand is all about advocating, living your best life, to coin a cheesy phrase. And we were just stuck in our sitting room in London, and I have rheumatoid arthritis, so my fingers through the winter, I can barely move my fingers and toes, and I mean, it gets so painful. And I was just like, this is definitely not living my best life. Like I definitely felt a bit like a hypocrite. And I was like, right, what would it take to turn things around? And it's like, right, we need to move out of London. And then the next step was, where should we move? And we did a few recce's in places in England, like Cornwall, but we went to Cornwall for 2 weeks camping in August, and it rained non-stop for 2 weeks. And we're like, okay, right, Cornwall's off, trust.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about London is it's the warmest place in the UK. So anywhere else you move to is going to be colder than that.
Exactly. No. So then, we have friends in Portugal, and there's so many people doing it now. So it's a really easy transition for anyone considering it. It's like all over Europe, they're starting to offer these digital nomad visas, they call them, where you can go and work for a year in a country and get a visa relatively easily. So there's loads of Brits doing it. So it's really easy. Like, look them up.
Yeah, great. And, I mean, from our point of view, we've loved it for lots of different reasons, but definitely everything that you've mentioned, the outdoor lifestyle, but also I love the culture in Thailand. Apart from the fact you can be outside morning, noon, and night, and it's super hot, and you get it's just much more an outdoor lifestyle. The people, the culture, the food, the cost of things, all of that works as well. What's that like in terms of? I've heard that in Portugal there's a really sort of quite interesting scene of an international community, as well as obviously the Portuguese culture, which is so rich and awesome.
Yeah, obviously things are a lot more expensive here. It's kind of UK prices, so don't come expecting to save any money. And we're running our business. We have a UK salary, so it's kind of it's vastly different. to Thailand. Like, to be honest, Thailand's one of our favorite countries. Like when we had our first baby, we spent 4 months in Southeast Asia, and like a good month or two of it was in Thailand. And there's potential that we could have moved there, or we could still move there in the future. Like, whereabouts are you? Koh Samui, are you?
We're in Koh Samui, and actually, when we were planning our trip, I suddenly started looking at accommodation, and it had gone up massively, and it is way more expensive here than it ever was before in terms of certain things, and that is partly because everything's opened up after COVID, partly because a lot of people from Russia and the Ukraine have come to Thailand, and therefore there's just not enough property for them. And so things are more expensive, but it's still £3 to go and get fried rice for your lunch. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, and like £3 gets you something bloody delicious, whereas in Portugal, kind of £10 gets you pretty average food, really. So
Yeah.
you have to spend 20 to get good food.
Yeah, of course.
I love Thailand is genuinely like the Thai culture. Like I've done Thai boxing for the last 15 years, and like I spent a month. Yeah, I spent a month in a Thai boxing camp in Thailand. I also did a massage course for a few weeks in Wat Po. So yeah, kind of everything about the Thai culture is just appeals to me so much.
You could have come and stayed with us. That would have been so great. But
I'd love to, yeah.
Listen, like you, we're thinking about coming back. I mean, we're gonna go home in April, and we're gonna reassess in a couple of months, and all sorts of boring reasons that we're going home. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about, the only proper reason I can think of to go home is community. Our closest family and our friends being in London and not being here. And we've actually made some great friends here, but it's not the same.
Yeah. No, it's very different in Portugal though, because we're very close to England. Like it costs, I fly back with Ryanair, and it costs me £15 each way. And it's going up to £25 each way when you book in like May and June, because it's a bit more popular, but it's so cheap. And it's like a 2.5 hour flight, 3 hour flight, and I just get a bit of work done on the flight, and it's so easy to go back. So I've been going back once every 2 months. And then obviously we've got May and June I'm back like every other weekend, and then in July I'm back for the whole month. So you see, when you're in London, you don't see that your friends that often. So you're seeing people almost as often as we did, almost as.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And then just back to the kids, I mean, one of the things we said is we want to go to Thailand, but not actually quite sure if Stan wants to go or not. So it's got to work for him. And we've been so lucky in that the school that we found here in Lamai in Koh Samui is just absolutely fantastic. And it's actually, I mean, it's sort of a nursery, but it's the first year of the school, and they do meditation and they have dance parties, and it's just such a kind, lovely environment, and he clearly loves it. And I pick him up at 4 o'clock every day. He doesn't want to leave. He spends half an hour in the playground with his friends there, So that's a good sign, isn't it? And I think he has had a super time here. Have your kids enjoyed it in Portugal?
Yeah, they're loving it, because we're staying in Lagos in the Algarve. So Lagos is quite a big town. There's quite a big kind of surf community here. It's quite an international community. It's not just Brits abroad. Like a lot of the Algarve is or has a reputation as being.
Yeah.
And because of that, because we're in Lagos, it's quite a cool town. There's loads of fun things for them to do. So, for example, we came from London to Portugal, and they've now started hip hop dancing lessons.
Amazing.
Which is run by this Belgian Ghanaian lady who's become a really good friend of ours. So they go to these hip hop dancing lessons. They also go to judo lessons, and they're about to start surfing lessons this weekend. So there's so many more of these things that they can get involved with, or maybe it's just way more motivated to take them to them, because London has it all. But yeah, I don't know whether it's. In England, you definitely feel more of a need to hibernate for 6 months. Like you pick the kids up from school and it's dark and grim and rainy, and you just kind of go home and you all kind of cuddle up on the sofa, and that's the day gone.
Yeah.
Because you pick them up and it's so warm. You're like, right, let's go to the beach. Let's go for a coastal walk. Let's take you to judo, whatever it is. So you're just like active every day. So
yeah. I think this conversation that we're having now is probably irritating a lot of people, but I'm loving it. So because it's obviously not the solution for everybody to move countries. It's not open to a lot of people. But that's not to say that it's not an alluring prospect to swap. And just in terms of the community again, do you miss your family and friends in the UK? Do you feel like you've got a good sort of set of people around you in Lagos?
I'm just in such a weird phase of my life anyway, like because things are so intense at the minute with the business. With Exhale, I barely leave the sitting room, and in London, for the last couple of years, like I barely leave the sitting room. I'm just so busy on the business, and I'm hoping it'll change, and I'll crack it soon. But it's the same here, and it's my own. So it's my own doing. I'm sure maybe I'm too much of a perfectionist, but like literally, a big part of coming to Portugal was because surfing has always been my number one sport for 20 odd years. But then living in London, it was really difficult to go surfing. And then having kids, it was more difficult. And I've always dreamt of moving to the coast, so close to the sea. And here we're a 10 to 15-minute walk away from a surfing beach. Literally that close. And I've surfed on that beach twice.
You
and
joke.
we've been here since September.
You joking?
And it's just because, yeah, I know, and it's my own doing, and I don't want any pity for it, but I just literally I find it so hard to leave the computer and there's so much work going on. I'm trying to build us up towards this crowdfunding raise, which is hopefully launching in a few weeks. So I don't really have time to miss anyone or miss anything. Maybe I just miss my having my own mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I've not got to that point just yet.
Wow. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because you talked about moving in terms of like walking the walk, but balancing the demands. And I know what it's like of running a small business and building it, and because all your competitors are putting in the hours, but still walking the walk is not easy, is it?
No, and like I feel like when I was in London, the thing I missed most was the kids and spending quality time with the kids. And even though I lived with them, I spent very little quality time with them since launching the business. And certainly like all evening. And most evenings I'd be so stressed that I would barely even kind of speak to them after picking them up from school. So moving to Portugal, one thing I'm really strict on is that when we pick the kids up and they come home at like 4:30, 5:00, I stop whatever I'm doing, and for the next kind of hour and a half, 2 hours, I do something with the kids every evening. And then, as soon as we put them in bed, then I carry on working all night. But like those 2 hours, I've got back with the kids. All night, literally all night, some nights.
Wow.
But I'll get those 2 hours back with the kids, and they're pure gold. And that's I was missing that, but I've got that here, and that's kind of enough for me at the minute. So
yeah. That is interesting. I didn't expect you to say that at all. I thought you'd be like, clocking off at 1, going surfing for a few hours.
I mean, maybe that'll come one day, but it's certainly not yet. Also love paddleboarding, and I think we've been, no exaggeration, maybe 3 times paddleboarding since coming, and we live near some of the best beaches. But we do go down to the beach most days and have a walk with the kids when we pick them up from school. So, and I'm going to start them this weekend in a surf club. So, it's going to move in the right direction. And I know that because we're here another year, like I don't want to rush things. Like it'll all happen in good time. So, it's
Yeah, it's been interesting because of the time difference here. My wife is working now, and my son's now asleep. But it means that we've sort of I've been working less than I do in London, and it's just suited me so well. Actually, I can feel that I'm more healthy, and it's partly by necessity because I can work in the mornings and I have to finish at 4 and go and pick him up. It's quite an early finish. And any workouts and everything else has to go into the work time rather than the play time. But I've been good at stepping back, and if that means that it grows a little bit less quickly, well, I'm in the sort of luxury position of being able to do that. And not everyone is in terms of their work. So
And you've got what, another month there or something, have you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So enjoy it now. Like enjoy it. Like yeah, take the yeah, you chill out with the work side as much as you can because when you come back to England, when you go back to England, like it's a you to get back out again, it's a whole lot of effort to make it happen.
Well,
Like,
there will be high level discussions about whether we come back or not.
would it be Thailand you'd go back to?
Potentially. I mean, I've been looking forward to talking to you about Portugal, and obviously, there's loads of places that you can live. We have loved it here, and I've like you, I've always loved Thailand, and the life is good. You know, Stan's made a lot of Thai friends. He's been doing Thai language lessons, which is crazy.
Nice.
In his school, and he can count to 10 in Thai and sing some Thai songs and write some Thai letters and that sort of thing, which is great. And yeah, it's been a good life, but then. For us, it is so far away that we're obviously not going to see anyone while we're here. So
Yeah, that's the issue.
but I
That's
do.
the issue.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, we spent 6 months in Australia just before having kids, and we loved living in Australia, and we would have stayed there, but it just felt too far. Like, and then you've got the time zone as well to deal with. So you literally there's a short window of the day where you can actually speak to people even back home. So you really do lose touch. So yeah, that's where Portugal. It's the same time zone as England even. So it's just so easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so what's the weather like then?
Um, It's when the sun's out, it's hot year round. Like even in the winter, like when the sun's out, if you're sat in the sun, you can be sat with t-shirt off in shorts working on our balcony, like any month of the year. But then, in the winter, which might be like December, January, February, maybe, when the sun goes away, it gets a bit chilly. And in the evening, you might put a jumper on, but yeah, it's just sunny most days of the year.
Fine, mate. That is absolutely fine, isn't it?
No, and the sun makes such a big difference. And we're living on the coast as well. And like in London, all my runs were just endless laps of my local park, like so many laps of it. Whereas now I'm just running these coastal runs, and it's the most stunning coastal runs. And yeah, it's so different. So that's one thing I have kept up here is so I understand that as a founder of a business, like your health is one of the most important things. And if your health goes, the whole business goes. So I am quite religiously running twice to 3 times a week. So I'll get like an hour's running. So I'll drop off. So the 8-year-old who's at an international school, I'll take her to school on the bus and then I'll run back, which is like a nice 11, 12K coastal run back from her school.
Wow.
So I do that like 2 or 3 times a week. So I drop her off on the bus, then run back, which is great excuse to tie in some running.
Brilliant. And is it pronounced Lagos or Lagos?
Lagos.
Lagos.
Or Lagos. I don't know.
Lagos.
Yeah.
Right. Is it a nice? It's because it's a city, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's quite a small city. Like I think it's like 250,000 people or something. But it's the kind of like the main place on the south coast where where that has like a surf scene. So there's quite a few like Quicksilver shop, Billabong shop, and then there's some decent loads of cool cafes, and it's probably the place on the south coast that's got the best restaurants and cafes if you're into that kind of like cool London hipster kind of cafe kind of scene.
Yeah.
So there's enough of that. And the coast here is just it's like huge, like 100-meter high cliffs plunging into the ocean. And you've probably seen pictures of them where they're like the yellow kind of cliffs, which are just lit up by the most insane sunrise. And every day we see the sunset from our balcony, and the whole sky lights up with this insane array of beautiful colors. And we're just like, every day we're like, wow, the sun's kind of sets over Africa in the distance. And you're just like, yeah, it's good for the soul to watch that every day, I think.
It certainly is. Yeah. That's excellent. That's very
so there's lots of little wins. Like the surfing can wait. That'll come. There's lots of little wins.
Yeah, exactly. And as it gets warmer, it's going to be so refreshing for you to get in the water as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the summer because I think it just turns into this tourist mecca, and it's just total carnage in the summer. So yeah, we're missing the main summer. Like we've got 2 months away, and then we're coming back. But yeah, as we get towards the summer, I think it's just going to get crazy busy, and we'll see. But like the winter's so nice because it's so quiet. It's just people who live here in the winter, so you really get to know everybody, and But yeah, I can't quite picture what the summer's going to be like.
Yeah. Today's podcast is brought to you by Bond Charge. I have wanted to team up with them for so long because it's such an easy sell for me. You know, when you use a company's products, it's just very easy. And I've been on board with blue light blocking glasses ever since I was told about them. I think Luke Story told me about them about 7 or 8 years ago. And Bond Charge make beautiful blue light blocking glasses for nighttime. If you go to bondcharge.com/Tony, then you can see their nighttime glasses, their daytime glasses, their computer glasses, their sunglasses, and then they've got a load of cool other stuff as well. Red light therapy, blue light blocking lighting, blackout sleep masks, EMF and radiation blocking as well, all in the name of better sleep and better health. What I think they've done is they've just sort of taken all these concepts of good health and they've said, we're going to do this properly. If you go to their site, you just know they do it properly. They ship worldwide. They ship to the US and the UK. You can use the code TONY20 for 20% off absolutely everything. And check out the company because it's a really cool company. They're on a mission to optimize people's sleep, well-being, and recovery. But what they want to do is they use products that are science-based and rigorously tested. So go to bondcharge.com/Tony, see a big cheesy picture of me on there, and you'll also see the discount code 20% off using the code TONY20. And I do think the glasses are a bit redder than other glasses, which is brilliant. So the last hour before bed, I think it's really good to just block out all the light. I love them. Tony20, bondcharge.com/Tony. Now back to the show. And then, so you're going to spend at least one more year there. Is that it after that? Or are you going to, do you have the option to stay for longer if you want in terms of visas and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so for Portugal, you can apply for a D7 visa, it's called, which is it's like the first stepping stone to a residence visa. So as part of the first application process, you get 2 years, and then you have to do some kind of application again, and then the next one is after 5 years, and then after 5 years, you get a European visa, passport, something or other, where we can basically then live anywhere in Europe. So we'll definitely do another year, and then I think that after the 2 years, I think it'd take a lot now for us to move back to England.
Would it?
Wow, it would take a lot. I think if I mentioned before, it feels like we've been let in on a little secret that life doesn't have to be so hard. Like it's just such a hard life at times in London that just a different way of living. So it's
and
it's really transition.
That's obviously a massive thing for you as well, isn't it? To actually just literally feel healthier and clearer from that climate. That must make such a difference.
Definitely, yeah. There's so much of it to do with diet and stress and other lifestyle factors as well. But heat and being in the sun is huge. And like certainly through the winter in England for 6 months, my fingers would get so bad that I'd have really bad Raynaud's, really bad chilblains. My fingers would look like they had rigor mortis, like literally like they were dying. And then in Portugal, it didn't happen until I went back to England in January. And I was totally unprepared. And I went back for 5 days in the snow and I had no gloves or anything. And I was in my Vivo barefoot shoes, which have no soles. So my feet and toes were freezing cold and my fingers were freezing cold. So then it kind of set it off again. But then we just went to Barbados and that got rid of it. Within a week, he got rid of it again.
Right. So, yeah.
What? Yeah, Barbados was cool. You guys spent a month or two there.
We did, yeah. Faith's got family there, so we went out there. And it's the opposite of Thailand in terms of being extremely expensive. And it's another place which is open to people going to live, but good luck being able to afford anything there. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of, I think one of the things that we really noticed when we're sort of in the jungle here, which is, we're not far away from the beach. We're in Lamai and it's only about 10 minutes walk to the main bit, but we're just surrounded by nature. And we've got sort of glass doors in the bedrooms and then also mozzie nets. So you can have the doors open in the morning, just the mozzie nets closed. And one of the things I loved the first week or two was just opening the doors early in the morning and just listening to the insane sounds of the crickets and then the birds obviously in the morning as well, and just such a vibrant sound. And I remember thinking, wonder if I'll get used to this. And I have, but I still love it.
You will miss it when you go back to England. You'll miss that. Like when we had our last baby, in Kirsty's maternity leave, we went to Central America for. We spent 6 months traveling that time, but 3 months of it was in Costa Rica, and we stayed on the Caribbean side, and it's very jungly. And we had a like a little jungle hut kind of thing, and there was no aircon or anything, and no windows, and it was just mosquito nets over beds, and properly in the jungle, and it was just like it's so hard. Like it's you're probably finding it as well. Life is definitely harder than many things about life over there with a kid is harder than being back home, but so much more rewarding. Like we'd have awful night's sleep, but then you'd wake up in the morning and there'd be a sloth in the garden in your tree, and you'd be like, "Oh my God, there's a sloth!"
Yeah.
Life's richer and at both ends of the spectrum.
Certainly is. Yeah. I guess there's a lot of setup involved when there's kids. It's not just a case of I'll pack your passport and make sure you got your bank cards and you're all right. And we didn't have a school or a house or a car or a moped or anything booked. We just had to sort it out once we were here because we didn't know where we wanted to live and we didn't know what the schools were like and all that sort of thing. So that is a bit of a leap into the unknown, and I tend to be fairly left-brained and organised, and I quite like having things organised in advance. So that was good for me to not have anything organised. But yeah, it is both ends of the spectrum. You're absolutely right. That's a very good way to describe it. But if you can get out of your comfort zone, and I guess travel is good for that anyway, isn't it? There's been lots of times in the past, not least we had to go on a visa run to Malaysia a couple of weeks ago. And when we booked the trip, we knew we'd have to do this. And I was like, oh, don't worry about that. Thailand's so cheap. We'll just get a flight for 100 quid to Singapore and we'll go and get it. And of course, there are no flights anywhere at the moment without it being extremely expensive. So we dragged poor Stan onto a 19-hour journey to Malaysia to get a visa stamp. and the driver at times was so insane that I was terrified. And at one point I did have to ask him to slow down as well. That was certainly outside my comfort zone.
Kirsty still asks people. Even a couple of days ago in Portugal, she asked somebody to slow down. It's kind of it's very easy to get nervous about these things. But
right. Yeah.
I think people have just got to do it like before we had our first kid. We knew we'd always traveled loads, and then Kirsty was pregnant, and we said, okay, we'll go traveling in a maternity leave, and everyone said, oh, you won't do it. You'll have the kid, and then you'll chicken out, and then you'll realize, how difficult having a child is. You're so naive now, you know nothing, and all this stuff. They'd be like, you won't do it.
Yeah.
So then to make sure that we did it, we booked the flights, and we booked non-refundable return flights to Bali 6 months before the due date. And we were like, whatever happens, baby or no baby, we're going to go to Bali, and we're like, we put non-refundable ones, so we had to go. And then obviously the baby came along. Baby had colic, so it was really difficult, and we were very naive. But we still went to Bali, and we muddled our way through. And you just gotta listen, decide to do something, and then make every decision aligned with that goal. To support that goal.
Yeah, great. We got a few minutes left. What's the coffee like there?
The coffee isn't great here. There's a couple of hipster, like really trendy coffee shops which have really good coffee here. But in general, I mean, I'm not such a fan of Portuguese coffee, but then I'm a bit of a coffee geek. They have lots of fun, different ways of making coffee, which is quite fun. They have like loads of different types of ways of coffee with a tiny bit of milk, galaus, all these picados and all these things. So that's quite fun. But yeah, generally, if we go anywhere, we'll brew up coffee before ourselves, put it in a little flask, and then take it with us.
Wow. There's a specialty coffee that they sell here, which we've seen on a few menus, which is half orange juice, half coffee. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. No, there's isn't there a coffee roastery now? A friend's just been over there. He said that there's actually a coffee roastery on, is it Koh Samui or Koh Phangan now?
Possibly. I've found some great places for coffee, but I've searched fairly hard for them.
Yeah, no, in Portugal, like it's really hard to get stuff over here. The kind of we've posted a few things back over here from England. Like it's really hard to get things sent from England. Like our own coffee. I think it was about 2 months before we got our hands on any Exhale coffee over here.
Was it?
So that was yeah. We actually put a few stories on that, and we filmed a reel of the first parcel, the unboxing experience, and the excitement on our faces as our first box of Exhale coffee arrived, and we were like, "Oh my god, 2 months of not having our own coffee."
Yeah.
But when you look for it, there is some good coffee here.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, well, you need to order a half orange juice, half Americano at some point and see if you like it. It's I haven't tried it yet, but my wife Faith has and says it's revolting.
So there's something actually you should try then along those lines. We actually posted a reel on it a couple of days ago. Coffee tonic. So you add a double shot of espresso and tonic water to some
Yeah.
ice, and then you add like a huge wedge of orange juice and give it a good squeeze before. And the orange juice really complements the kind of bitterness of the coffee and the tonic. And it's actually quite a delicious, refreshing summer drink.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
If you can get all the tonic over there, you
Yeah.
should try it.
Oh, yeah. 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 Well, look, Alex, before we go, I've asked you this before, but what about one book that you are inspired by at the moment, or you've been reading, or you think is good, and one tip for living with more energy and vitality?
One book that I'm reading, I mostly read marketing and business type books, motivation. That's all I read. There's one called "When Coffee and Kale Compete," and it's really like it's such a coincidence. It's called that because we've obviously done our lab test and it compared the antioxidants of our coffee versus kale, which was so funny. But the book is about nothing to do with that at all, and it's about the job to be done theory. And I don't know if you've come across that, but any product owner should look up this book and should look up the job to be done theory. And it's all about how to market your product through a deeper meaning through the job that it's doing. Like Snickers, supposedly, Snickers chocolate bars sales went through the roof when they started marketing it based on how it satisfies hunger, not on how much chocolate it's got, how many nuts it's got, but it's like it satisfies hunger, and that's its job to be done. Right. So that's what I'm trying to apply to our coffee, and it just involves thinking a bit beyond, oh, it's got loads of antioxidants or polyphenols in it. It's like, what is the job to be done of our coffee?
Yeah, great.
So that's kind of this great whole stuff at the minute.
That's an excellent recommendation.
Very good book. Yeah. It's a very good book. And then what was your other one?
One tip for living with more energy. Move to Portugal.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is mornings. Like just get up in the mornings, and I can notice a huge difference when I'm getting up. Like I'm quite a morning person. I get up at like 6:00, 6:15, and I have probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours on my own before anyone else in the house wakes up or at least gets up. And just having like a morning routine, but it doesn't even have to be like a really rigid morning routine. But like I'll do similar types of activities every morning, and then when I'm doing that, I have more energy through the day, and then I fall asleep like that, and I sleep much better at night. But it all just starts with a good morning for me.
Yeah, brilliant, Alex. It's great to talk. I've so been looking forward to it, and one good thing about going home is we'll be getting Exhale coffee again, because we certainly can't get that over here. So where can people find out more about Exhale coffee?
Yeah, just jump on our website, is exhalecoffee.com. Our Instagram as well. Although it's been a bit quiet recently as I've been busy doing other things, but Your Exhale is our Instagram. We've put a lot of effort into our weekly email newsletter. We've done it for over a year now, and it's been really popular. And we have 3 sections on it. One is a coffee related one, obviously. One is a movement related one, and one is more like a holistic and wellness related one. And we share different tips and advice and things we've learned, our favorite like biohacks or whatever it is, that week. So, and it's proven really popular. So yeah, that's where we're putting a lot of our time at the minute.
Brilliant. Look, it's so good to talk. I'm definitely inviting myself over to see you in Portugal.
Dude, seriously, honestly, it's really, you would love it. And it's it might even convince you to move here.
Yeah. I did say to Faith, I said, look, maybe we should just consider somewhere nearer home. I'll ask Alex what it's all about.
Honestly, if you do come to Portugal, like a lot of people are moving to that Lisbon area or maybe kind of around Lisbon. So that's obviously a big hotbed. But if you like city, like if you want to move to a city, then obviously Lisbon's a way better city than any you're going to get in the Algarve. But if it's very much the beach scene with some degree of a city, like Lagos is the city, like I literally can't rate it high enough. Like you're just on the beach, but I've got a huge view of the ocean now.
Have you?
Lovely. Yeah, so it's I don't know if you'd get that in Lisbon so much. So it's kind of it depends what you're after. But yeah, Lagos or Lisbon, I think, are two great places.
Brilliant. Alex, thank you for coming on again. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Have a good one. Thank you.
That is it. Thank you to Alex, and thank you for listening to this podcast. Make sure you check out their crowdfunding, which they are doing now, and I'm getting involved, and it is only £22 as a minimum price to own a little bit of Exhale coffee. So it's on my list of things to do. I think I've got a little while to register and do that, and you should definitely go and check that out. And next week I'm going to get fully involved with that. Thank you also to my podcast partners, Bond Charge. If you go to bondcharge.com/Tony, you will get all their blue blocking glory right there. You've got 20% off on that link, and you've got blue blocking glasses, blue blocking lights. It is one of my absolute go-to hacks that I've been doing for years, and I wouldn't be without blue blocked lights around the house. We actually keep them on all night because my son likes a small light on. So if you've got small children, you don't want a white, bright light that's going to keep you all awake in the room with you. You want something with a lovely campfire glow, and Bond Charge can provide the solutions for that. They've got infrared light panels as well. They've got stuff to... they've got facial rollers and all sorts in there. It's really good. bondcharge.com/Tony, and make sure you have a particular look at the glasses because I think they're better quality than any other glasses on the market. That's it from me. I'm literally just out for lunch, and I thought, you know what? The sound of the jungle is so insane. I've got to record a podcast. I'm always having to shout this. It's so loud. You can actually come and stay here. We've come for lunch at a place called Radiance. It's a sort of spa in Samui, I think. It's not particularly high end, but it's just in a beautiful spot in the jungle. So I'm going to go back for my lunch. My Thailand trip has almost come to an end, so soon you will be hearing me recording podcasts from London again. Looking forward to going home, even though it's been wonderful here. And I hope that today's podcast has provided some inspiration that, you can change your location and change the way you feel and have a great 3-month adventure. But also, that is not the be-all and end-all. And for me, community is the most important thing. So I am looking forward to going home too. Thanks for listening. See you next time.